Hello and welcome to the Heaven Bound Sunday School class at the First General Baptist Church in Truman. We're going to read scripture from Psalm 93. We're just going to read the 5 verses, starting with verse 1. Now, the author of this particular psalm is unknown, but this psalm of praise provides universal assurance and hope. No matter the circumstances, the Lord reigns. As followers of Jesus, we can agree with the psalmist, the Lord reigns. And let's read that scripture now. The Lord reigneth, he is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, wherewith he has girded himself. The world also established that it cannot be moved. Thy throne established of old, thou art from everlasting. The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. The floods lift up their waves. The Lord on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, yea, than the mighty waves of the sea. And then verse 5 says, Thy testimonies are very sure. Holiness becometh thine house, O Lord, forever. Now, the writer of this psalm presents the rule and reign of the Lord as a stated fact. His awareness of the nature and permanence of the Lord leaves no room for speculation. The nature and permanence of the Lord can be seen from the name used here. In the English translation, this special name is always written in all caps to signify the reference to the personal name of God, sometimes translated as Jehovah. Now, to speak of God's clothing is to personify him. That is, to describe him with human characteristics, even though he is not human. The descriptions here are appropriate for a king, but whereas a human king might be clothed in fine linen and royal colors, God is clothed with majesty, and he's clothed with strength. Now, to be clothed with majesty is to put on glorious apparel. He is also clothed with strength because he has taken on that quality himself. No other God has granted him this privilege. It is his by right of character. He is strong eternally. The physical world has permanence and structure only because the Lord's throne is established. From the beginning, he has been the eternal, everlasting one, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Now, the psalmist wrote of floods and water. He wrote of the waves of the sea, and he wrote of the noise that's created by these bodies of water. Now, the ancient Hebrews were not avid seagoing people. In Solomon's day, a seafaring fleet existed, but at other times, seafaring efforts often brought disaster. To the shepherds and farmers of Israel, the waves of the sea represented chaos and disruption of the created order. Much like a powerful tsunami or a flash flood in the desert, waves of the sea threatened all in their path. However, this is of little consequence for the Lord on high. As the all-powerful Creator, he remains in charge of the creation. Empty noise and crashing waves can never threaten the Lord's rule and reign. Now let's look at verse number 5, which reads, Thy testimonies are very sure. Holiness becometh thine house, O Lord, forever. Now the testimonies of the Lord refer to his words. Once passed down by oral tradition, that word is now preserved in written form in the Bible. The trustworthiness and reliability of the Bible derive from the trustworthiness and reliability of the Lord himself. In verse 2, we saw how God, who is by nature eternal, occupies his everlasting throne. Then in verse 5, we learn that the Lord, who lives in his house with his people, speaks his sure, unchanging word, while he makes holiness his unchanging standard of behavior. Now, as we look to God as King, we recognize his authority over all that he created. He is greater than any threat. Given the Lord's majestic and holy reign, how should we join the psalmist in worship? We too express our wonder at what God has done simply because of who he is. Now, we celebrate in song and in deed the rightness of being part of God's kingdom. We express our submission to His authority by following His teaching and example, living according to His great love, especially as revealed in Jesus. We extol God's power by relying on Him to provide for us and protect us, emboldened by His Spirit to serve others as He has served us. In this we honor our King. Once again, O Lord, forever.